Who are the top NFL head coaches in the game in 2022? What's up, y'all? NFL Talk Zone here today to talk about my top 10 NFL head coaches heading into the 2022 NFL season. So a quick side note is this is not a career ranking. This is not ranking the coach's success throughout their entire career. This is me basically looking at the coaches saying, who are the 10 top head coaches I would want coaching my team in the NFL going into 2022 season. So some of the things I factor in are the coach's X's and O's ability, the ability to game plan, to have in-game adjustments, and I also factor in the leadership. How do I perceive them as a leader of the football team? And I also take a look at the recent success as a coach. So like the last 2 to 3 seasons, I'm going to have some stats of the coaching statistics the last couple seasons, or the last 3 seasons. So without further ado, let's get into the ranking. At number 10 on my NFL head coaching rankings in 2022, I have Mike Vrabel of the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel is the reigning NFL head coach of the year. Very impressive coaching season from him last year, considering that his running back Derrick Henry was out the second half of the regular season, and the two top receivers, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, missed a good amount of games last season. On top of that, your quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, had a kind of down season compared to how he's played the last couple years, and your O-line wasn't as good as it was the previous couple years, and they were still able to get the number 1 seed in that competitive AFC, led by Mike Vrabel coaching their team. So his leadership really stands out. Vrabel seems like a very good leader, has command of that team, and it seems like the guys love to play for him. What holds Vrabel back a little bit from being higher on this list than number 10 is the last couple of years in the playoffs, they've been at home, had the chance to win, and I wish they would have won one of those playoff games the last couple of years at home. They lost to the Ravens at home in the wild card round in 2020 playoffs, and then last year, 2021 in the playoffs, they lost as the number 1 seed to the AFC champion Bengals. So I just wish they would have won one of those games, but other than that, Vrabel's a good leader, and he's my number 10 coach in the NFL. My number 9 head coach in the NFL heading into 2022 is Frank Reich of the Indianapolis Colts. Frank Reich is a guy who I love as a coach. Very good offensive coach. His offense is versatile. They can be one of the top running games in football every single year, as well as pass the ball effectively. They were top 10 in offense last year. And a thing that stands out with Frank Reich is he has a different quarterback pretty much every year, and this offense and this team as a whole is still successful. You look at 2018, he had Andrew Luck. They made the playoffs, won a playoff game. You see 2019, he had Jacoby Brissett. They won 7 games. That was the worst season under Frank Reich. And then you look at 2020, he had Philip Rivers. They won 11 games, went to the playoffs. 2021, they had Carson Wentz, won 9 games, just missed the playoffs. So he's only had 1 losing season in 4 years with a different quarterback every year, and his offense has still been pretty good every single year. So I love the ability to be a very good offensive coach out of Frank Reich. And Frank Reich, I also like him as a leader. So Frank Reich is my number 9 head coach in the NFL in 2022. My number 8 head coach in the NFL going into 2022 is John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh is a coach who I feel is good with every part of the football team, whether that's the offense, defense, or special teams. So I really like his ability to be like kind of the head guy of the whole football team as a whole. Every single really side of the ball, special teams. So I like Harbaugh's role in that part a lot. And I think he's very good situationally, whether that's the going for it on 4th down, the 2 points. For the most part, he's good with. Last year, they did struggle a little bit at the end of games late in the season with the 2 points. But over the course of his time as coach, he's been good situationally, which I like a lot. And he seems to always hire a good staff around him with the OC, the DC. So I like John Harbaugh a lot. He's my number 8 head coach. My number 7 head coach in the NFL going into 2022 is Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott is a guy who has completely changed this Bills organization around ever since he was hired back in 2017. McDermott has took this Buffalo team to the playoffs 4 out of his 5 seasons head coach, only missing it in Josh Allen's rookie season. So what really impressed me with McDermott as far as his coaching ability is the defensive side of the ball. He's a very good defensive coach. I noticed he's very good putting his players in situations to succeed and getting the most out of the talent he has on that defense. For example, last year, on paper, I don't think they were the best defense in football, especially when you lose Tre'Davious White in November to an ACL injury for the rest of the year. But somehow this Bills defense still statistically was the number 1 defense in all of football last year. And whenever McDermott first got there, those guys like Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, who he brought over as free agents, and then they all of a sudden become the best safety duo in all of football. You see he develops guys on the defensive line well. See a guy like Jordan Phillips, who had a really good season for the Bills in 2019, I believe, and then he leaves the Bills, doesn't do very well. Now he's coming back to Buffalo. You look at a guy like Ed Oliver, who is starting to develop at some point. Matt Milano, a very good linebacker. So they have a lot of talent on this team, but Sean McDermott really gets the most out of the talent they have and elevates it. So I got Sean McDermott as my number 7 coach in the NFL. My number 6 head coach in the NFL going into 2022 is Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots. Now, Bill Belichick, he is widely considered one of, if not the best coach in the history of pro football. But he has regressed, in my opinion, a little bit over the last couple seasons. You see his defense, as good as they are, they're very good, one of the top defenses in football year to year, but they have those games, like last year versus Josh Allen, multiple times where they just have no answers. If they're getting shredded, they seem to keep on getting shredded, like that playoff game where Josh Allen and Brian Daboll led that Bills offense to a touchdown drive every single drive besides the kneel-down drive. So you wish that Belichick and this Patriots defense wouldn't allow that to happen, especially in a playoff game. But really good about Belichick is his player development, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is where he specializes. You see a guy like J.C. Jackson, who was an undrafted draft pick, free agent signing as a corner, and he develops into one of, if not the best ball hawking corners in football, along with being one of the top corners in football overall. And another guy is Matt Judon, who came over from Baltimore as a free agent signing last offseason, and he was always a good player in Baltimore, but in New England, he pops off and has his career year under Bill Belichick. Other guys are Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, who have played on multiple teams, but always seem to play their best football under Bill Belichick. Another thing I like with Bill Belichick is his teams seem to always be disciplined, low penalties, which I like a lot. So Bill Belichick, still very good, not the top head coach in football anymore in my opinion, but I have Bill Belichick at number 6. My number 5 head coach in the NFL heading into 2022 is Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin, coach I like a lot. I'm sure everybody's known that he has never had a losing season as head coach of the Steelers. What really stands out with Mike Tomlin is his ability to lead this team. Mike Tomlin is probably the best coach in front of the podium, but Mike Tomlin is a very good leader for the Steelers team. He always seems to elevate this roster. Going into the season, especially the past couple of years, I feel like they have outperformed the roster talent and made the playoffs each of the last 2 seasons and won more games than probably most people thought they would win. So I like that a lot about Tomlin. My only really knock on Mike Tomlin is in some of the big games or with some of the other top coaches, he can tend to get out coached sometimes. But other than that, I like Mike Tomlin a lot. He's at number 5 for me. My number 4 NFL head coach going into 2022 is Matt LaFleur of the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur is a guy who just wins. He's won the most games as a coach in his first 3 seasons in NFL history with 39 wins. Very impressive for Matt LaFleur. I really like him as an offensive coach. I love his scheme. Very QB friendly. Able to get guys open quick, get the ball out of his quarterback's hands quick, and let his receivers do some work after the catch. I think he's really helped elevate Rodgers to MVP level the last 2 seasons, because Rodgers, while he was still good before LaFleur got there, he wasn't talked about as elite anymore, really. And now LaFleur comes and he really brings this really good scheme that fit Rodgers well, and the combination of them is very good. What is a little disappointing with Matt LaFleur is his team in the playoffs over the last 2 to 3 seasons. I wish they wouldn't have lost those games to the Niners or the Bucks for Matt LaFleur's sake. Well, I think he could be talked about as even higher than number 4 on this list because he's such a good offensive mind. I got Matt LaFleur at number 4. My number 3 head coach in the NFL going into 2022 is Sean McVay of the Los Angeles Rams. Sean McVay finally got a Super Bowl after last offseason his team traded for Matthew Stafford. So you saw with McVay, always had the Rams being right on the edge of that Super Bowl. Actually got to one with Jared Goff, but then they go get Matthew Stafford, and boom, year 1, along with adding some other players like Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr., they win the Super Bowl. So I like Sean McVay a lot as a leader, really. His leadership stands out a lot. For a team that has Aaron Donald on their team, McVay can actually maybe make a case he's the face of that franchise. He is the head coach, but just his presence on that team seems like the players love him. Seems like he's a good coach to play for. And now we get to Sean McVay's play calling, which is very good. I haven't even talked about that yet. That's the third thing I'm talking about. But McVay is a very good play caller. Maybe not elite of the elite, like top of the top tier, but he's still a very good play caller. And I like Sean McVay a lot. Gets a lot out of his players, too, with guys like Woods, who was there now on the Titans. Cooper Kupp always seems to get a lot out of that offensive line. Good run game. And his quarterback he gets the most out of. So I like Sean McVay a lot. I got him at number 3. My number 2 head coach in the NFL going into 2022 is Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just going to call it like I see it. I think Kyle Shanahan is the top play caller, best offensive coach in football, and it's really tough for me to have him at number 2 because I think he has a strong case for number 1. The fact that Shanahan has led this 49ers team to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game in the last 2 seasons where the team was pretty significantly healthy, with Jimmy Garoppolo, who is a bottom-tier starting quarterback, it is just so impressive what Shanahan has done with this offense. For example, the Niners last year, according to PFF, were the most explosive passing offense in all of football, while Jimmy Garoppolo was statistically one of the worst deep passing quarterbacks in all of football last year. So that shows Kyle Shanahan's ability to get their playmakers open, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle open after the catch and make plays to make this a very explosive, dangerous passing offense. And to go along with that, Kyle Shanahan seems to be able to take any running back who he likes and put them in his system, and they seem to have some of the best football in their career, and they seem to play very well. For example, a guy like Raheem Mostert, a guy like Elijah Mitchell, a guy like Jeff Wilson have just been able to succeed a lot more than people expected when they play under Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan is by far the best team or the best coach who utilizes a fullback in Kyle Juszczyk, who is by far the best fullback in football right now. So Kyle Shanahan is just an offensive guru, and he's my number 2 head coach in the NFL. My number 1 top head coach in the NFL heading into 2022 is Andy Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid, what makes him the best coach for me in football is not only his offensive coaching ability, but just his overall leadership as the head man in the Chiefs coaching staff. Andy Reid seems like a player that players love to play for, seems like a very good guy to be around and a good coach. But getting to his offensive stuff, I think Andy Reid is a very good offensive coach. He always seems to have a good OC with him that he hires and seems to get them a coaching job. Andy Reid is known for the Andy Reid coaching tree. He he gets offensive coaches jobs, which is impressive. And Andy Reid, in the big moments, I feel like he kind of does get better as a coach. I feel like for the longest time, some people thought maybe Andy Reid didn't improve in the big moments because he seemed to always fall short in the playoffs, in the championship games. But I think Andy Reid just needed that elite quarterback Mahomes to show that, no, he does improve in the big moments. You see in the Super Bowl a couple years ago versus the San Francisco 49ers, the 3rd and 15 play, they get the right play calls in the right big moments. Last year versus Buffalo with 13 seconds left, yes, you have guys like Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, but I remember watching that game thinking, why are they dumping the ball off when they only have 13 seconds and need to get that many yards? Well, because they have Tyreek Hill, and Andy Reid is very smart and knows how to do good in the big moments. And his team is never out of a game, not only because of Patrick Mahomes, but because Andy Reid is the coach. So Andy Reid is my number one head coach in the NFL going into 2022. So that'll do it for my top 10 NFL head coaches going into 2022. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to check out the top 32, so every NFL head coach ranked, that'll be in the description and comment section of this video. I ranked the top 32 coaches on my website, which it was hard to rank the top 32 because there's so many new head coaches, first-year head coaches, second-year head coaches this year. So the unproven, hard to rank, but I made the top 32. Link is in the comments and description of this video. So thank you for watching this video. And also be on the lookout for the second episode of the NFL Talk Zone podcast with my co-host Graham, which should be on here either Wednesday night or Friday night. It'll be live streamed on YouTube. Should be on YouTube later this week. Like I said, Wednesday or Friday, we're going to be going over one bold prediction for every NFL team in 2022. And we're also going to talk about any NFL news like the Debo contract, the Watson suspension that just came out as I'm recording this video. So thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.